We're live.
Well, just let a few people come on.
Yeah. There's a few coming on now. Go on, guys, get yourself on there.
What do you know to come on there, Brian?
Just see that there, the top one.
Oh,
Yeah, come on there. There's how many people? Top one and that one. You've got 18 on there, that one. Right, we're going to start. Okay, hello there, guys. It's me, Brian Cockerill, on the tax one. I'm here today with my friend Kevin Kilty. I've been friends with for 30 odd years, 32 years, going on more. One of the best friends, if not the best friend I've ever had. Really knowledgeable person, really clever. I'll let Kevin tell you his own story. And Kevin, welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian. It's good to come on, yeah.
Yeah.
First one I've ever done as well, yeah. So.
Don't be nervous, Sam.
No, and
yeah. I'd just like to say, whereabouts are you from, Kevin? For the people.
I was born in Winniebank, Earls Road, 1957. Then Earls Road and Winniebanks itself was a really working class, place. There was a very few, very few people who were on the dole, and that most people worked. Everyone was hard up, but it was very, very friendly. You could leave your doors open. There was quite a lot of tough people there,
Yeah.
Some who I'll mention shortly, some old names who I'll mention shortly to you, Brian.
Well, where was your mum and dad from? Was that
well, no,
what your dad does a little bit?
My mum and dad, my dad was from over the border,
right.
But going back before my childhood, right. My dad was in the army, actually. He was in the Drumlight Infantry.
Right.
And my mum was in the WRF, the RAFs.
Right, yeah.
And she used to make parachutes.
Right.
For the
war.
Yeah. And my dad was in the Drumlight Infantry. And he was actually twice wounded in war.
Yeah.
Twice wounded. And on one of them occasions, I think my brother Brian will know more about the details. He's expert on it, Brian. He was wounded and he was took on a journey wounded in the back of a 3-tonner truck.
Right. In
all types of weather. And for him to get from where he was wounded to the prisoner of war camp, it took 6 weeks. 6 weeks in a wagon.
So what did he obviously survived it?
Yeah, he survived it, yeah.
So what was it like when brought up in them days?
Well, it was a lot of really good memories. And one of the memories my dad told me, he used to tell me tales of the war, quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
And one of them he mentioned to me was when he came, he got liberated from war, and the Russians came to liberate him on horseback. And said, for you British soldiers, the war's now over. But we, the Russians, have lost 20 million soldiers in the meantime. And he walked through his mother's door in Barnaby Avenue, which is Winniebank's West Lane. Yeah. And she'd had a letter a few years previous saying they thought he was dead, killed in war.
Right.
Next minute he walks through the door, alive and well.
I bet that was a strange feeling.
Oh, it must have been, and
it must have been horrific and brilliant at the same time.
Oh, amazing stories. Yeah. And anyway, going back from that, my older brother Brian, he was really set on joining the army. And when is
it because of all the stories maybe off your dad?
I think it was. Yeah. My dad was. He always says my dad was his hero. You know.
Yeah.
And my dad was teaching Brian map reading, grid references when he was 10 years old.
So
he was, and then when he was 15 years old, I think it was 1963. Brian left Winniebanks to go to Oswald Street as a junior lead in the Drumlight Infantry. I can remember him when he went. Obviously, I was very close to Brian, with him being my older brother. I looked up to him, 10 years older. Yeah. I remember me and my sister Maureen, my mum and dad, he'd get on the train at Middlesbrough, and there was an angle where we lived on Earls Road where you could see right over Stockton Road. And when he went past from Middlesbrough to Darlington, he'd wave a white hanky out, and it was quite sentimental and at times tearful, because I'd looked forward to him coming home.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'd done regularly at the time, some people used to say I looked like a miniature version of Paul McCartney.
Yeah, well, you did. He did. Yeah, believe me, he did. I think it was his twin brother.
And anyway, at 12 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, Brian used to phone the phone box outside the Roseberry, speak to my dad before my dad went in for a few pints.
Right.
And I used to get on the phone and sing All My Lovin'.
You go to school, I think, Kevin?
Well, I'm going back to my school days. I went to school at St. Francis, and I can remember the first day I went. My mum always called me my blue-eyed boy. She'd brush my hair, gel it back, and she used to give me my dinner money because my dad worked, so we paid for dinners. And in a little handkerchief tied in a knot, and I could tell she was really like hated me going to school, missing me and that, you know. And at school, I was a very, very shy kid as a youngster. Right. Very shy. I can remember at one time, one particular lad had only been at school a year older than me, picking on me, and them days wanted to fight outside the school. And
I remember that at 3 o'clock outside the gates, all that stuff. Yeah.
I went out only like 5, 6 year old before I knew I was getting punished and didn't realise what was going on. You know, ran home to my mum, whinge, and I started to get like picked on to a certain extent. And then one day I turned that fear into like anger, and I thought, I'm not going back to somebody in the face, lad. Yeah. So stupidly at 6 year old, my dad had a bayonet in the cupboard of
from the war,
off a 303 rifle, and that's sneaked into school. And afterwards arranged another fight and ran him round the bungalows, throwing this big bayonet.
I think you were at Rock Drift.
Yeah, and so I never really got much trouble after that, you know. And, but I was a very shy kid. Very, very phobic. Yeah. I would have to say to my sister Maureen, who was very, very, we were really, really
joined to the hips,
joined to the hips, you know. Maureen would have to, or Pamela, we'd go on the bus.
How many siblings was there?
There was Brian, oldest, Raymond who's died now, and Pamela's died. Me, Maureen, Brian left. Yeah. And anyway, I would have to say to Maureen, can you get me a bag of sweets? And I'd go into a shop and I'd be literally bright red, green, nervous, scared, phobic, really, really bad for many, many, many years, you know.
But can you put it down to that? Is it just that?
I think it was a thing I've never said to anyone, which obviously this is off a crime story, this is a life story, and Steve Norton, who we both know,
he's a good lad,
excellent with his psychology. Anyone who needs that, excellent. And I've read many.
We've had him on the show, as if you just want to look back.
He's very, very, very informative. Yeah. He might put something down to this. I'd walk down the road, and I was that close to my mum. I'd point out a leaf at 5, 6, 7, 8 year old and say, if I touch that leaf there, my mum won't die. She'll live forever. My mum won't die. For some reason, I never bothered about my dad. I spoke with my mum, you know. And then if I stand on that stone there, and I was literally a phobic kid, OCD, but I did have the good life and a good time, and I can never remember ever. And you look at some lasses these days, waking up on the morning and them not being a bowl of cereal for me with my mum getting ready. Never, ever once. When I come home from school, there was never not a meal there and the supper.
Looked after,
Sunday dinner there. If we didn't eat it, we'd have that and a tea. Never, ever. You know, my sister Maureen and Brian used to say, you know, if there was an angel that walked on earth in human form, it was my mother. She was a big Catholic, you know. My dad wasn't. He used to he threatened to go up to church regularly and fill the priest in, saying, you're giving him funds for the IRA to kill my son. Ryan's over in Ireland. What you doing, you bloody idiot? And all this. But we had a good upbringing. I can remember one story when me and Maureen were only 10-year-old. Pamela was upstairs, Skinny Lizzie we used to call her. She was like a matchstick, but she was a very lovely girl and would house anyone when she was older. And we'd been over the old river swimming, the Wales's family and the Solons and the McBrides, all them will relate to the Dawsons. Them days, our entertainment on a summer day was to swim in the old river. Yeah. And there'd be rats next to you, and you wouldn't be bothered one bit. And you come over.
Where did your phobia go then? They're gone. We're bothered about rats. Isn't it weird today?
And we came home Sunday afternoon, sunny day, covered in muck and crap. And my dad comes downstairs, Dad, to me mum, look at the state of these, where have you been? I thought, oh, you're going to get it here. But he'd never hit us in his life, you know.
Right.
His voice was enough.
What, yeah.
But the fear of it.
Yeah.
He said, Pamela, come down and have a look at this. So Pamela, Skinny Lizzie, came down. She said, look at this. Why weren't you with them? And got the carpet beater and started giving her a whack across the back, chasing up the garden, you know. But we had some really, really good times as kids.
Yeah.
Going into when I got 10-year-old Nata left St. Francis School, some great people and some great families down Winniebanks. One story I can remember vaguely was there's a lad called Dowie Dawson, you won't know him, really good bloke, and my brother Brian, the Wales, the Lakes, Georgie Dobbs, the 80 Wales, all them. He had a gang called the Hinton Gang. Hinton Gang. Yeah. And they were ferocious and that, you know. And I remember there's a paper cutting somewhere still of Dowie Dawson in what was then the Wales' house, 2 Hinton Avenue, in the back, photographed by the Gazette, digging up the soil, and literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of rats running all over. All over. Yeah. You know, and Dowie's there with a shovel getting them and that, you know. And we just become used to rats. I remember going to pig alleys to work in the, sorting out the pigs, 10-year-old, and rats would be jumping on your head onto the next sheet and that. You know, they didn't seem to bother me. And but going back to something I'll talk to in another episode, my son Richard, as you know, is world champion, Olympian. I'm going to tell some
not just world champion,
that, you know,
fastest man in the world, wasn't he? World record.
Over 16 metres, he's, well, it was the fastest. He's not actually a world record holder, but he won the world record, the world championship that day. And that event is the fastest race on earth.
Yeah.
And he was 66 to 1 to win it. But I've got some great stories to tell about them. And Heidi and Jack and Luke in future.
Because your life is your continent.
It is,
From day one, it's always been about the kids.
Yeah, it is the kids, and obviously Melanie and me fell out and I got custom, but we get on together now. We have some good laughs together. Yeah. And as I say, when we come to the series next time, I'll tell some great stories about Melanie, you know, because she used to be, as you know, a person that could go into a shop and get 100% discount on So, you know.
What was it like when you went to the big show? Any big jumps in the little school?
Yeah, well, very near the Sat Fest, but then Brian started to rub off on me. And I was thought, but just before the big school, maybe when we were 8, my dad used to, 11 o'clock when we finished Mass on a Sunday, he'd come with us, me and Maureen, take us to Linthorpe Cemetery, which is Winniebank Cemetery. Right. The big gates there. Before he went for a pint with Bill Wales and the McDonald's, all them lot, he'd actually say, right, come on, I want the train used to run. And we'd run this 150-metre stretch from the beginning of the gates, which is still there now, drive past me each day, and we'd sprint, me and Maureen, to the end of the chapel. And I was very, very, very good sprinter, excellent sprinter, but she was, as a woman,
so like a tomboy Maureen then.
Yeah, she was, but obviously nice looking, and she could sprint like hell. And the odd time she beat me. So if I won, my dad would say,
because Richard.
Yeah, there's a threepence for you, Kev. There's a good lad, you beat there. And at the same time, he'd pull Maureen away and say, oh, there's a threepence for you. You'll beat him next time. I'll give you £50. Yeah. So, and eventually she would, and we both became really good sprinters in school and that. So I say that was where the genetics of Richard came from. And also my brother Brian was an excellent sprinter, but even up until recently he held the Welsh senior marathon record, you know.
Right, unbelievable. So it's in the blood, isn't it?
It's in the blood, yeah. And then I went to join the Army Cadets, and that, and I was 11, just turned 12. You had to be 14 to go in, but I sneaked in, and I was only a little fella. I wasn't. And my dad taught me how to iron the trousers, put the soap in it, the brassers, the boots, and
You had to put the candle in the wax door. I was in the Army Cadets. Was in Royal Engineers.
12-year-old, and I've fired lots of weapons. People will think weapons in crime, but I've fired lots of weapons in the army, from the old 303s
I've done them.
to the recent
the Bren
ones,
guns,
you know, the Bren guns, all them. And I got a marksman's badge when I was 12-year-old, and I got Cadet of the Year in all of the North Riding. Army Cadet of the Year in all of the North Riding. But they couldn't publicise it because I was only 12 years old.
Right.
But I've still got the plaque somewhere. So that was a great, you know, we met people from all over. Met some good lads from Thornaby. A couple of good lads I met really well. One that looked after me was Bram, who's my you know, his father-in-law now. His dad, Paddy Cross, and lovely lad. When we went on annual army camps,
weird, isn't it? Oh, you met him all in the before. I know his son's married to your daughter. Mad, isn't it?
And Paddy, he looked after me because I was only young, timid, and don't pick on little Kilty's man, mate. And he was really, Paddy Cross, and a good help there. And another lad who I'll speak something about at the end of this, who was a comical lad but a great lad, is Tommy Picker, and don't know if you know Tommy, really good old friend of mine. But there's a little incident I'll tell you about as we go on at the doorway about him at the end of this. But we used to go to the army camps every year, and I remember when I got my army suit, and I walked home, we marching up the road, Earls Road, and my mum come out crying her eyes out. Oh, my son, he's in the cadets. And the first weekend I went to Whitburn Army Camp, and I'd been away the Saturday and Sunday, and she was breaking her arm when I got breaking her arm, you know.
I went to Dundee for 2 weeks, and the second day there was an army lads from, they had them SLRs then.
SLRs,
and we had them, the old 303s, and you know, the weapon for your legs and stuff like that. We were up in Dundee, and we were there for 2 weeks. So it was a good experience. We were going to meet these army lads from America, and we were competing against them. But their uniforms were miles better than ours.
Well, the uniforms then in the cadets were,
they made you itch like mad in the shirt, so terrible.
The hobnail boots. Some people could afford the commando boots, the hobnail boots, and
you had to get the boot polish out with a spoon and heat it with a candle, and then
polish,
and you used to do the pillars, didn't you? The bed block. You got it out one little crease and throw it all over the place. It was good because I always made my bed every day through the discipline. And I was in there. I become a corporal.
I was a corporal as well.
Corporal,
and we had some funny times in there because everyone wanted to join the army. I remember another good family from Winniebanks, the Boyd's family. They were rough and ready, and Malcolm and Chester Boyd joined, and they were great laughs. They were rough and ready. They weren't bothered what the uniform looked like. They just shot it on. Chester had his caps and weren't be like Michael Crawford, you know. And I remember the drill sergeant was marching us, and that was perfect. That the drill, you know, left
wheel,
left, right wheel. And you know, Chester, when they were saying left, right, left, he'd up on his left leg, left, and then left, right, left. Anyway, he said, "Go on, bugger off, I'm out." You know, sacked him out of there. But going into the school, then I played football for the St. Michael's School. I was a really good footballer, very good, very fast. I used to play on the right wing or left wing, and centre forward sometimes. And later years,
speed, that was it.
Yeah, it was. And later years, we had I'll go into this later on as well. We had a really great team with the Rosebery football team, which Matty Barnes, really great bloke. He managed it. He was like Brian Clough. And his four sons used to play for the team. Nipper Barnes, David, Glim Barnes on the right or left wing, Malio centre forward, me on the left or the right wing. And without sounding stupid, that was formed in prison. We picked that team in prison. Me and David, we were in the same prison cell. I'll go on to that later. And we were probably the fastest forward line. Probably not being funny in the more than any Premiership team. Lightning, all of us, you know.
What made you get into the bodybuilding? What did you do when you left school? Did you have a job?
Going into the bodybuilding side of it. I was always fit in that, and I went to St. Michael's School, say some great people there. And I always say about, you know, they say about Chris Rea, he written this great song, Salisbury Girls,
Yeah.
of how great they were. But I think at the time he written it, he must have been looking at the St. Michael's girls. 'Cause there was some stunning girls there, lovely girls.
Yeah.
Winnie Banks, he had his fair share of them. There's some I'm still in contact with now.
Yeah.
Trish James, Pat Soul, and Anne Rafter today we were talking to, you know. Can remember Jackie Ouchin, who's Ben Ouchin's. He's auntie. Anyway, yeah, so we went into school, got through school all right. I had one particular lad with us, a few of us, myself, Happy Barnes,
Happy.
and a lad called Ray Ingledew, Sammy Ingledew,
Yeah.
Terry Breer. And Sammy Ingledew was like Kez.
Right.
Slightly dark-skinned lad, and some great stories with him, some laughs we had. And we used to just get into bother to get the stick, 6 to the best.
Yeah.
Lovely, we just get on and, you know, see who can take it,
Yeah.
set each other up. Remember one day we had a top of the form thing, all the posh kids in school, and we wouldn't go into it. So we sneaked round the back of the stage, the headmaster, yes, and this, that, and the other, blind silence. Me, Sammy Ingledew, Ray Ingledew, went behind curtains. Go up on the veranda, Ray. Ray goes up on the veranda. Terry Breer says to me, pull the ladder away. He pulls the ladder away and runs round, sits in the group of the posh kids, and all he hears, help, help, Kilty, you bastards, Breer, you bastards. Mr. Apple, who's that? Open the door and there's Ingledew swinging 20-foot shoot from the beams. Yeah, we had some great laughs. And then I left school, and I should have went and done an apprenticeship, really. Should have went in the army.
A lot of people followed what the dad did, didn't know.
Yeah.
People would be on the docks, or people like big builds or brickies, and it'd be a friends for the dads, didn't they? Yeah.
And I should have went in the army. I was good enough, and Brother Brian says you definitely should have done it. One time he sent the army careers officer down to my house to see me, and at the time he was in Northern Ireland.
What put you off going in then?
I think it was my dad actually talked me out of it.
Right.
The reason being he'd have loved me to go, and I'm thinking it was Dad. I couldn't remember. I think Dad, he said, I've got one son in danger in Northern Ireland.
Okay, those two. Yeah.
So at the time I was working at Shaw's Foundry. I'll go on about that as well in a minute. But Shaw's Foundry, I was working at a really hard job. And it was what they call a fettler steel dresser.
Right.
You had masks on, dust.
Sweating a thing.
In the summer of '76 and that, you know.
It was the hottest year ever.
'74, and it was a really hard job and not well paid. But my dad worked there, my uncle Kenny, he worked there, and my brother Raymond worked there. You know, and even though I have some really good memories of it, it's on the 40-foot road. I think Steve Gibson owned it for a while later years.
Yeah.
But it used to make bombs for the war.
Right.
And I used to work in what they call the bomb shop, making train wheels, you know, the wheels.
You better watch yourself, people. You can make bombs.
I went making bombs. But,
and he's just like, so you better behave yourself.
In the war years, they made the shells for the bombs. Right. We called it the bomb shop, you know.
Bomb squad.
And I worked there, and I'd got on with my first girlfriend there, Pauline Wallace, who've got Zoe and Kevin too. And she was my first real serious girlfriend, you know.
Yeah.
And I used to finish work at night and get the bus up to the town centre, water warehouse, go home 11, walk to Winnie Banks early in the morning. It was brutal, you know, work. But I enjoyed it, and we got money. And I always remember one thing I liked this day was on the morning, especially the winter mornings. I remember getting up for breakfast with my mum.
Yeah.
And the fishing forecast being on. Have you ever listened to it?
Oh, yeah.
And the way they talk,
it's going to be the end of the world.
You know, but it's something I've always liked.
Yeah.
And anyway, I should have went in the army, and I didn't go in the army. And as I say, we were rough and tough down there. And there was myself, Malcolm Butland, Paul Smith, Mala Boyd, Robbie Williams, Tony Ryan, Nipper Barnes, Jeff Marsh, you know, Gary Ellis, a friend of mine, really good friend of mine. one time, one of our friends who was with us, Malcolm Button, Wally, really good friend of ours, Wally Button. In fact, Wally, I'm not sure whether he knows it.
Yeah.
He was born in the house.
Yeah.
And the house next door, many years later, born was Richard Kilty, world champion.
Right. Wasn't it?
Yeah, in Springfield Road, 32, we lived. Wally, the house down, but he wasn't at the time.
Springfield's another rifle.
Springfield, yeah. And anyway, Wally went up one week and he'd been picked on by these Hells Angels.
Right.
And the week after, we decided we'd go up and sort them out. So we gathered at the Roseberry, revved up with a few babies, not mad, but and we were smart kids, we weren't scruffy, we were smart kids, and all of us were working at the time. And we ended up going to Roseberry, to Cambridge, and then fighting started breaking out from there. We were probably really stupid, maybe picking on people who we shouldn't have. Then escalated in the coronation and to the Grenadier. And it ended up being called the Battle of Acklam.
Yeah.
It was called the Battle of Acklam. And we ended up getting lifted for it, caught, 10 of us, and went to court in the May. The trial was in December. We thought nothing of it, the barrister was saying, oh, you'll only get, probation or fine, you might get 3 months. And it was a long trial. It was Judge Angus Stroyan who was the judge,
I remember him.
And my dad, and God bless him, Matty Barnes especially, went to the courts daily to support us. And on the 10th of December 1976, we got found guilty of the affair. And we didn't know what to expect. And I thought, well, wait till I get home and tell my girlfriend, Pauline. Didn't get home. We got remanded into Low Newton.
Right.
I thought we'd be out in the morning. Next day, they started calling us up, a few at a time. First one's 3 months going on. Then they called us up, Kilty, Barnes, Richardson, Butland, all got sent a use for with the leaders. Leaders. And Wally Butland there, God forgive him, he's got his hands on the Crown Court bar and he's saying, leaders.
Yeah.
I'm working tonight, I'm on night shift tonight. I'm pretty sure what you doing.
I'm a dead shift.
He said, he whispered, the sentences are going down here, I think we're going to get off. He said, no, you're the leaders and I'm sending you all to prison for 3 years.
3 years.
There was ruptions in the Crown Court.
Right.
Matty Barnes and my dad going for the judge. My dad called him a Nazi bastard. I fought for you, no more people like you.
Yeah.
What was it, a nightmare? And we got sent down to Bridewell's and 3 years. You just couldn't come to terms with it. And again, poor Wally Butland there, and he won't mind me saying it, especially if he's watching now, a great friend. And banging on the Bridewell door to the school. Boss, can you go up and see Judge Angus Stroyan? What for? You please tell him I'm working tonight, I'm on nights.
Can anyone out there tell me who did that night for him?
I'm on nights. What do you want me to tell him? You please just tell him I can't do 3 years. I can't do 3 years. Kicking the door, going mad. Screw came down about half an hour later. Wally, boss. Oh, yes, Malcolm. Did you tell Angus Stroyan I couldn't do 3 years? Oh, yes, I did. What did he say? He said, oh, just do as much as you can. So we got sent to Durham prison and it was 10th of December 76, a snowy night, or the snow coming down.
Horrible place,
and we pulled up outside the courts, and right on the courts, we pulled to the outside of a United bus.
Right.
Drizzling down with snow. Horrible handcuffed to each other. They didn't know what to expect. My head's down there, I turned around and looked, and there was a lass on the bus next to me here.
Yeah.
With her head down. It was only my girlfriend, Pauline.
Joking.
Didn't see us, and I didn't want to bang on the window. No. Just let her go. And when we got to prison, got in there, and I didn't know what it was. We got in the. We weren't bad lads. We were over sentenced. got in like B wing, so it's a strip off.
Horrible place. I've been twice
Get a
out.
bath.
It was like being to me. It was like reading a railway carriage.
No.
Freezing cold, little tiny
Horrible.
windows.
Horrible. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to say.
You had a bucket then, didn't you?
And anyway, they
terrible.
shipped us off onto what was then A wing, which A1, as you know, is we didn't know then
was a non-swing, wasn't it?
It's non-swing sexual offenders wing.
Yeah.
And me and Mossy Richardson got put in A3.
Yeah.
Just let the end of the stuff, shut the door. Didn't have a clue what was going on. Didn't dare ask.
No.
What's going on now? Next minute the door opens in the morning, all sorts going through your mind, and then you're back in, slot out.
Scary.
It was very scary in 1976. But I did make a little vow to myself, and I was the adrenaline, you can imagine. Because we didn't know whether we'd get out.
Kevin, no doubt when you go into jail.
3 years or 2 years, or you have to parole.
I only went for a week. The first time I ever went, it was like, what do you do here? And it's just because you're annoyed. When you hear that door slam, you're like, oh, then I got the 3 year. But after
and we went streetwise then, not far from it. And I vowed to myself then, even though I felt gutted, you felt emotionally broke.
Yeah.
I vowed to myself, while I'm in here, I'm never going to shed one tear.
Right.
No matter what I do, no matter how much I feel that adrenaline, that sickliness, I will not shed a tear, no matter what. And I didn't. But the next day, 2 days later, I got sent into another cell with a lad called Hopkins on D wing. Mossy got sent.
I like D wing. It was the best. It was a bad wing.
Yeah. And anyway, I got sent in with a lad called Hopkins, who was a proper weird looking bastard.
Wasn't from Stokesy, was he?
No, it was Geordie. That's going to be in a few weeks' time. And anyway, I had long hair and glasses on.
He's definitely from Stokesy.
And when we were in on the afternoon, I remember listening to the radio, and he kept talking to me. He was a lot older than me, and he was saying about War Jim. And I thought, should I start talking about my brother in the army? Because he looks like his brother's in the army. And it took me a week or so to find out the Geordies say, our lad, our Jim, War Jim. I thought he had someone in the army who was called Jim. And then I eventually got moved from there. I still remember it, D232 on D wing with my great friend Nipper Barnes. And it was then when we formed the Rosebery football team.
Right.
And, me and Nipper were in a cell next to a lad called Ronnie Dunbar. Smart bloke, looked about 50, but probably 40. Very close being type of thing. All he did was read. He was doing life. And Nipper used to wind him up all the time. He'd get out, when he'd slip out on the night and look through the keyhole, and Ronnie, he'd be reading his book, Ronnie. When he'd had the
slat opening,
you go, stare madly, think it was a screw, and Nipper would shout, Dunbar. In the end, he'd done his head in that much, Nipper. He used to come and drop kick the door screaming, I'll kill you. But we had a bit of a laugh about it. And Wally Butland was over the road, in the cell over the road, which we could see because of him. And Nipper had this idea of putting a letter through every couple of days. Butland and his number, get your kit packed for tomorrow, or you're going to swim for Knoll, which is a YP place. And Wally would be stood there in the morning, gear rolled up, we'd be going out, knowing what the score was. Say, Wally, what are you doing? I'm off to swim for Knoll, lads. I'm really sorry. I don't want to go like that. And there was, I remember seeing Paul Sykes at the time there, he was a formidable character. And talking about strength when he held the prison record for squat about 220 pounds then, which, I was just saying, compared to what you've lifted, we go on that in weeks' time. Phenomenal strength what you had. I mean, you would probably warm up with single arm triceps with that one time, And then anyway, another person I seen, just to let people know what prison was like then, and there's really bad stench, very, very, very bad stench of urine and piss and crap. Horrible smell. It was like 3 toilets to 300 people. 3 toilets, 300 people. The stench was terrible. And on the non-swing, there was this lad called Fletcher, long-haired lad. He looked like that bloke out of Dirty Harry, you know, the one who kidnaps the school bus and gets shot.
Yeah.
And I don't like to say this on here, in case there's any children watching. But all he used to do was sit in his cell, open the door, and while he was awake, he just used to play with himself, like.
Oh yeah, right.
Gone in the head.
Crackers, yeah.
He was in the exercise yard and one arm got out, ran out a pigeon, bit its head off.
Yeah.
And while I was in there, another good story was I used to look at the Durham Cathedral and think one day.
Do you want to just say on the podcast that the police have been informed and you've got some of that, you've got people in the house, so please, 2 seconds.
Only 2 minutes.
Hold on, 2 minutes, stop
Okay.
it, get in, stop it,
Just
get in.
2 seconds. What do I do? Stop it.
Oh no, just go.
All right.
Stop it, get in, get in.
Well, you're in a bubble with us anyway,
Yeah.
Guy. I couldn't help you with the else anyway.
Just get it, in.
Does this need to turn off, does it?
Right, no.
Yeah, please come just by the way, if you're still recording. We haven't got on to the crime stories yet. Please.
For everybody watching, they had a phone call, the police, to say that we're breaching COVID rules, so we all know who that phone call's made by.
We not really. We not really.
So the police at the door with Brian now, so we all know where that's come from. But if that's the case,
Brian's
we'll
in a
zoom
bubble.
it.
Brian's in a bubble.
So we all know where the phone calls come from.
And if the phone call has come from that person, he knows who he's on about. I'm an old 63-year-old man now. When I see him, no matter who he's with, he's getting told by me, no matter what. He's lucky these lads aren't 30 years younger. They don't need to be young, but him, the lad who we're talking about, is scum of the earth. And when I see
all
him,
we'll do is we'll just do Zoom. We'll Zoom it so you can do it. We'll Zoom it from each other's houses. So we'll catch it back up. But can you believe that somebody's actually phoned up the police? How crazy!
Yeah, just as we're coming into some really good stories as well.
I don't want to stop it though, Kev.
Yeah, we're going to.
Because we'll just all we'll do is stream
very good stories. I say some of them I'm going to be going into shortly to do with crime, some stories that have never ever been told. Some great stories about my sister Maureen, who her husband died in jail, John McPartland. Some great stories about him, other people, Keith McQuaid. Great stories.
And so this is definitely going to come off. This is Brian and Kevin, these 4 parts. So whether we've got to StreamYard it and we do it through Zoom, it's not going to stop it. So you might have got the police at the door now and it might be stopped tonight, but we'll see what happens. Yeah,
just hope you tune in, because how me and Brian had worked out was to do it in a 4-part series. And then in that 4-part series, we were going from my early life, not that I'm anyone or a big gang, to story of a tale. And then how eventually I got into like the jail, but not being a bad guy. And then I was, you know, not mixed up, but knew a lot of people who were into crime and crime stories.
It's going to be really exciting what you've got to say.
And I got to know some really good solicitors who I work for, Barry Stewart. Another solicitor I've got very high regard for, Sean Flaherty, you know.
Can I just tell you what they've just explained? They've said it's a single person occupant house. They said, I'm married to him.
Right, yeah. Someone from Stokes, he's phoned up and said,
can we carry on or not?
Yeah, we can carry on this because it's part of my business, so hard luck. We all knew the person. Well, no, that's from Stokes.
And what this person from Stokes doesn't realise is that I'm a qualified doctor and I'm in Bry's support trouble, you know. We're giving each other a bit of counselling. But I just said early on, Brian, he knows who he is. And now the rest of the people know.
Everyone knows who it is.
People are just going to watch it more and more. And when I see him, and he can go and phone the police, I'm going to approach him face to face, no matter who he's with. He is the lowest form of life ever. And I don't know how anyone bothers with him.
I said, I'm with my wife, I'm with my mate for the podcast. It's my business. And they said, as long as the business, you're okay then. So they were fine.
So I said he wasn't going to.
So we know. Well, he said straight away. I said, from Stokes, it's just best that will happen. Yeah, they give it away straight away.
He was actually seen outside the primary school doing naughty things not so long ago. We won't mention
I knew. But So,
we were just going on to it from Durham Prison. I said there when you'd gone, we just come to a part where I was saying, the next one we go into, I'll tell a few more details here, but it's going to go into a crime side and some stories which have never been written of.
No.
I'm not this gangster, this, that, and the other. We've never tried to be this, that, and the
No,
other.
no.
You've been
Just
through a
being
lot,
friends,
Brian.
yeah.
When I worked on the door, just something I would like to mention, but I won't go into detail. I worked on the door. I was very fit at the time, training, and at one time, not that I liked it, I was working at Bentley's and I got credit for, and it only happened because my hand was broken. There was this thug attacking me, and I slapped him and I knocked the lad out.
Yeah.
A couple of nights later, I done the same because I had a bad hand, and I got in the habit of slapping people and knocking them out, not picking on them. People who were fighting me, stop out my hands.
Yeah.
And then it spread all over. Denny Oil was doing it. My great friend Denny, who you know well, we hopefully get him on shortly. And it spread throughout the area in the northeast, and people saying, "Oh, Kevin Kilty invented this slap."
Yeah.
But I think he's watching now. But actually, out of all them years, 36 years ago, it wasn't me. All the person who invented that slap, best person ever, and he was very ferocious at it, was a lad called Tommy Pickman.
Right.
Tommy Pick, where I told him I'd mentioned it, but I didn't tell him what.
Yeah.
And I can remember Tommy having some, scraps with Hardcase. And Tommy was a tough lad, good lad. His brother Jimmy, who's passed away not long ago, great people. Gary Jordan, lots of Thornbury lads, Kev Champney, great lads. But Tommy had this knack of being able to slap people and totally flatten them. Seen him even flatten them by walking the bum. You
remember the night I slapped that lad?
Yeah,
in the rave.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go on to that the next time, because that was the West Fisherman's I've seen, but I'll come into detail about that. That was, and apparently his girl was screaming, "Oh, did you see that? 5 people jump on him?" Oh, yeah. No, it was one person, him, and even he tried to talk and said that,
So we've got 10 minutes left because I said he's going to 20 minutes. So.
But going back onto when I was in prison, I then got moved to Appleton. I was gutted to get moved to Appleton, which was a semi-open prison, because I was leaving behind Nipper Barnes, my great mate. May morning, got up, sun shining, saying bye to Nipper, I was gutted for him not coming with me. Him and Wally Butler stayed there, me and Mossy Richard went on. Right. And anyway, when I got to Accrington, I could train a lot more then, but I was training with very lightweights, but running a lot, doing a lot of running in the yard. And anyway, in the prison at the time there, unbeknown to me, Brian, was someone who was very well known. He was married to my sister, was Keith McQuaid.
Oh, no, I remember Keith.
And Keith was in Accrington.
Naughty lad, wasn't he, Keith?
And he was in some ways he was very obviously naughty lad, but them days he was a bit of a likeable rogue. I know people have got bad images of him, what was done or allegedly done, whatever. But I'll talk a lot about that later on. Some big stories about him. And John McPartland, when
these stories haven't been told by anyone, have they? No, never been known to these stories.
No. And I don't want that big guy, and that haven't been told by nobody.
Disrespect,
and I know a hell of a lot, but I don't know as much as my sister, who I'm trying to prompt to write a book as well. You can talk about that, but the memory she's got, and Keith McQuaid coming to Accrington, and I tended to relax, my brother-in-law was there, and he got married in Armley Prison to my sister Maureen. And I just felt at home. Keith was there, looking after me, and then I got a job in the admin block, which is the administration job, top job. I was a nice kid, The schools were saying, "What are you doing in jail?" And anyway, I seen this thing, and on the radio it came up. So-and-so, Keith McQuaid, send 10 officers round now. He's going to Armley. That was good that he was getting what's called shanghaied out. I remember it was a July afternoon, 1977, and I ran over and they were just having the dinner. I said, Keith, I shouldn't tell you again to bother to come take it to Armley. And he just said casually, he said, "Oh, fuck him, I'm not bothered. I don't give a shit, Kevin." He said, "You make sure you look after yourself, And I met Keith in there. And eventually in there, I got a job in the kitchen.
One of the best jobs, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't actually in the kitchen, it was serving the food. And there was me and a lad called Slab there from Newcastle, great lad. And one thing I can remember very clearly is the Christmas day when they were all eating roast potatoes. We had a little bit of a competition.
In jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, when I come out of there, I was lost and very.
When you come out, when I went to jail, when I come home, I got 3 strikes for the driving offence, which was ridiculous. Everyone else said I would have got a fine or something.
No, you would have done,
yeah. Anyone else, because
but they wanted to get you.
That was all I was, wasn't it?
They'd get you for anything rather than nothing.
A bit like Algapore, they got him on nothing taxation. So I got 3 years for driving, sent me to 8 different jails. When you go to jail, you come out. You get in the car with something and you're only doing 30 mile, but the feeling you're doing 50, 60, 70 mile, everything's faster in it because you used to be in an 8 by 12 cell.
Yeah.
Now it's in Monkey Lines.
Monkey,
very good friend. Was married to his sister. And he was a good lad. He looked after me in jail because I'd never been in, you see. You know what I mean? I'd been in with him. I got the big set. I was like, 3 years from jail. I was like, I got 3 years, but he's only driving a fail to stop. And I got the 3 year and I was in with him and we got padded up. We had a good, we were a team.
He speaks very well, yeah.
Really nice lad.
I was just
some good
chatting to Maureen today and I showed you the photo, another couple of really good stories to come when we got the crime scene about Paul Massey, a machine gun to death a couple of years ago. Notorious man, but not a big man, but very helpful man. There was Coronation Street stars at his funeral. I'll be speaking a bit about that and about Monkey next week and Keith McQuaid, you know.
Well, I was in jail with his brother, Eddie Massey. I was in Fabric with him. We ended up being friends. I was a Man United fan.
Because I don't know whether you know.
Was he best man for?
Monkey was best man for
Paul Massey. He was best man for Monkey. Paul Lyons. Maureen's wedding. And if I can tell you a little bit of a funny story now before going into it, and I hope Maureen doesn't mind me saying it. Maureen obviously was married to John McPartland, and I'll tell some good stories about that. Sadly, he died in jail. Horrible circumstances, and one of the biggest regrets of my life, if not the biggest one, was I stupidly fell out with Maureen for a lot of years. If I hadn't, I think Mac would still been alive today. Because I said, don't be doing that, don't be doing this, be careful with this. But anyway, she eventually got on with Paul Lyons, who was doing about a 22-year stretch on Bryson.
Yeah, he got 22 years.
And he was in Franklin High Security. He's in with Charles Bronson. I've got some cards off him. What was
serious offences.
Good, a beauty story about Charlie Bronson and Monkey. When we come to a really good one, unheard of. And Maureen's going into the prison, Franklin, which she's been many times years before, to get married to Paul Lyons, Monkey. Goes in the door, suit on, screw. Hey, Maureen, is that you, Maureen McPartland? Yeah. That you looking smart, what you doing? I'm coming in to get married. You are married? How long's John been dead? Or however long, 6 years, I'm not sure what. She said, you're getting married? Who are you getting married to? Paul Lyons. Who? Paul Lyons? Monkey Lyons? Yeah. What are you marrying him for? She said, well, he makes me laugh. He said, well, why didn't you fucking marry Ken Dodd?
Are they still out there?
But some really good stories to come, and we're sorry that the police came to cut it short.
The police are still outside at the moment. But just
20 minutes ahead of us.
Actually, another story about Bry, some great stories about Bry which have not been revealed.
See, this has been a bit muddled up the podcast, but we'll get back on track.
It's got a little bit off hand now.
Yes, what are we going to say about?
We've got the police protecting us outside. Thanks to the Stokesy person.
Yeah, and anyway, Bry, it wasn't that many years ago, maybe it's 15, 20 years ago, there was a little bit of a story, you know, the scanners were out then, Lima 1, Lima 2, got Bry Cockerill in the Cosworth, 80 metres behind us, just drive straight ahead, Lima 1, Lima 2, blah, 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 he's pulling up behind us, we're just going on the A19 southbound, he's following us, bum, bum, bum. To base, he's flashing us. Cockerill's flashing us. He's insisting we pull over, lock the doors. He might have something on him. Could have firearms. Bry walks the door. He's pulled us up for fucking speeding.
That's a true story.
Brad pulled the coppers up for speeding.
I said to the cop, oh, what does that say? And he went 40 miles. Well, I clocked you at 50. Slow down, or I'll give you a ticket next time.
There's some hilarious
Funny
stories and true stories
Yeah.
as well, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very true stories.
So I think we're going to have to leave it there, guys. Just
Yeah.
mentioned me book. Tack from the Teesside. So, yeah,
But we've got some great stories. This was just a little bit about my childhood. The ones to come next week are in depth, some really good.
This is just a build
some
on
quite violent, sickening ones, but some really
murders,
good stories.
Yeah,
Murders,
people being shot to death, killed.
allegedly certain post office robberies, all sorts of things.
Yeah,
you know,
all going to be in there. So,
kidnappings, and you know.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to us,
Thanks
guys.
a lot,
And thanks for Kevin.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Sorry about the police coming, but it's all interesting, isn't it, guys?
Just made you see, I'll see what he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done. And rhymes and times team.
I don't think that's spoiled as such. In fact,
No,
I think
it's made it more
people are gonna
interesting.
want to watch it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well done, that
Made
ending.
it more interesting. Thank you.
This is not ending. Fine.
I think you've got to book that, haven't you?
You want to get me further over at all? Or?
Okay.
See, I came with a bit of space.